Okay, well then I guess I'll start it, I guess. Call to order the Transit Advisory Committee. Wednesday, August 21st, 2019 at 915 South Torreville Road, Bisbee, Arizona 85603. This is a regular meeting. We'll do a roll call. Judy Flowers.
Here.
Donna Pulling.
Here.
Monty Norg. Is that how you say that? Norg?
Moni, no,
Moni.
Moni's not here.
Humberto Rivera.
Here.
Luis Pedrosa.
Here.
Cynthia Robles. Kathy Williams. Or is that
Keita. Here.
Keita? Sorry.
That's okay.
Connie Gastelum.
Here.
Jessica Uria.
Here.
Aubrey Perry. Lorena Valdez.
Here.
Jesus Otto here. Mike Normand.
Here.
We have a first item is call to the public. I don't believe we have any call to the public. So we'll go to item 1, approval of the minutes from the May 15th meeting. If we have the, you should have a copy of the action agenda. If anybody needs a copy, to take a look at that.
I move we approve the minutes from the May 15, 2019 meeting.
I'll second.
A motion to approve the minutes from the May meeting in a second. All those approve, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes, unanimous. Item 2, discussion and possible approval to remove Monet Norg, I can't say her name, from the TAC committee for exceeding number of excused absences.
I brought this item on the agenda. My name's Donna Pulling. I've been talking to Moni, and he has no interest in serving on the committee any longer. He's a disabled, handicapped member of our committee, and he asked that I put this on the agenda so that we could just remove him from the committee, and that would show as a vacancy for our disabled member.
Question. Since he's no longer interested in serving, would he could just resign?
We've been waiting for him to resign, and he just doesn't want to bother with it. He has completely no interest in it any longer, and so I asked Lorena if it would be appropriate for us to just put this on the agenda and have it be approved by the committee for excessive meetings that have been missed. Rather, he doesn't want to deal with it, and so
It's true, he doesn't.
I mean, he doesn't even want to make a statement, make a phone call, write a letter, write a sentence. He doesn't want to do it. So as long as he continues to miss meetings and exceeding his number of meetings, he says he's fine with that. Tell them I'm dead, I don't care. So,
Well,
I do have another disabled person who is actually interested in being on the committee, so.
We're an advisory committee. Who do we advise? Because there's got to be a governing council or board that we advise. Am I correct? Or who
That's
appoints the
correct.
members?
Your mayor and council, right?
Our mayor and council. So what we have to do? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I guess that's a really good question, because I don't know that, I don't believe I was formally appointed to this committee. And I don't know, is there another transit committee? My impression is that there isn't. This is?
This is a transit committee, and it serves a purpose as the requirement of applying for funding from ADOT.
Okay.
There must be a
Right,
transit
so
committee.
ADOT.
So we.
But
So yeah, I guess to think our council, what we have to do then is make the recommendation to our city council, and city council will then officially remove How do you say it?
Moni.
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 I would also
yeah.
ask if there were some bylaws established when the committee came about, because it may state there, you know, if so many unexcused absences from a member, that member may be removed by the committee if
That's why
everybody
I
votes.
think I went through.
Is it by the committee or by the?
Probably in the code. If
Yeah.
there isn't any bylaws, it would be in the code.
Yeah.
I've been on other commissions for Bisbee, and missing 3 meetings, unexcused absences are the limit for exceeding the number of meetings that can be missed without the commission volunteering.
The mayor does that all the time. He hits it with his foot.
I better just leave it.
So if this committee is it's similar to all of our rest of the committees, that's what we have to do. She's right. There is a maximum number of missed. We still have to take that to council for them to go ahead and officially remove them. We can only advise. We can't take any action really. So.
And I'm sorry, I wouldn't see anything impeding the nomination of the new member at this point.
Yeah, we could probably do that also.
That can move
Recommend
forward,
it.
I would think, if.
I don't have a filled out application. I think that the process, I understand it to be, it's not on the agenda right now, but there will be an application being submitted for, we have a vacancy in our business category for a business representative on the committee. So I'm a general citizen representative, Judy's the senior representative, Moni was the disabled representative, and then we have a business representative. And so,
So this is the deal. Because we're just an advisory committee, if the new person wants to fill out the application,
right,
the council can go ahead and appoint even without our recommendation.
right,
So we can still do that concurrently.
yeah.
And the last businesses that we had were the golf course. Someone represented the golf course, and then someone represented Louis Reese, Association of the Handicapped. And no one's replaced him either, so.
Well, I have an application that I gave to Lorena, was that only yesterday? It was, wasn't it? Yesterday, for an employee of Safeway will be representing, if council approves that application, that's what's been submitted. But that's not what is on the agenda, so I don't know we can talk about that. Legally, we can't be talking about that now, so. But I would like to make the motion to approve the removal of Moni Noring from the TAC committee for exceeding the number of excused absences, making that recommendation that the council approve.
There you go. It's the recommend.
Is it excused or unexcused absence? It's on the agenda as excused.
Oh,
but I think-
excused, unexcused,
It should be
So
unexcused.
it's just
unexcused.
exceeding number of.
Exceeding number of.
Oh, exceeding number
Oh,
of
exceeding
excused.
number of excused absences, yeah.
We have a second.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to recommend the removal of Moni Norg from the TAC committee for exceeding the number of excused absences. All those in favor, say aye.
And can I just
Oh.
make the agenda was approval to remove, but now it's turned into approval to recommend?
It's a recommendation. We can't, as an advisory committee,
Alright.
we cannot take action. We can only recommend. Okay, so we'll vote. All those approve, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Okay, vote is unanimous. We'll make that recommendation to the city council. Item number 3, ridership report and other news. Humberto Rivera from the city of Douglas.
I looked at the report. first graph shows the ridership since we began. The city government started controlling busy ridership. So this starts from 2015, 2016. You can see all the months. The current month, July, you can see it's 2879, 2,979. The total for this month. It's way higher than the last month. So, the next graph, you can see the comparisons again for the last month. And the bottom one, you can see that it expands a little more into the minutes and the miles, hours, passengers, days of service compared to the other months.
I have a quick question. Hours, miles. Why would the miles vary? I know they don't vary. The mileage between months don't vary a whole lot, but why would that be? Just out of curiosity. And the Visby charts and graphs on the very top one, it says miles and.
Then the question is why?
Just why would they vary? Do they maybe have to take like a detour or something?
Yeah,
or?
they do deviations.
Okay.
Sometimes drivers ask for deviations, so they have to deviate and go pick up a person 2, 3, 4 blocks
Okay.
away from the nearest bus stop. So that's depending on the days and how many.
And
Days
sometimes
of
the
service
city's
too.
working on the roads.
Okay.
Every month has different days of service.
That's true.
It says.
Yeah, there's
on
holidays like this month,
Right.
4th of July, we don't work, where you can see the number of days, so that increases or decreases the mileage. So there's several factors that
Okay.
affect it. So.
I don't know.
Any other questions?
I don't know if it's appropriate to bring up, but Donna and I were talking about categories for,
On this next page, he's gonna talk.
we can talk, okay, I'll wait.
Well, we can go to the next page now, so if you have a question on it.
I guess the question I think was, what's the distinction between the elderly age and the seniors? You have two categories, one that says elderly and one that says senior. So is there a different age group for elderly and senior?
Elderly are the ones that qualify for the pass, where a senior doesn't have a pass and just pays the senior.
Oh,
Okay.
You're just
Alright.
general public.
so
Got it.
elderly with pass.
Yeah.
Elderly,
And seniors are over 62?
Over 60.
Over 60, that is just a
They
regular
pay.
fare.
They just pay the senior fare.
Okay, and what's the adults? What's the ages for the adult category?
Younger than the 60.
To how old?
59 and whatever. If you're 60
What's
years
it
The,
old.
the youngest.
But I mean, if you're under
Yeah,
62,
yeah.
0?
No, we have children under 6, which they don't pay.
So from
Being
6 to 60 is considered an adult.
An adult.
Is that right?
Well, no, then you have students, so.
Well, we have students, there's other categories.
Okay, so if you could, maybe I should ask this a different way. Could you just break down the age categories, or the ages for each of these categories for me, please?
Yeah, 0 to 6 is under 6 years old, and they don't pay, they ride for free.
0 to 6 would be
Yeah.
considered students?
No, that's U6.
Under 6.
Oh, U6, under
Under six,
6,
under six,
under
yeah.
6.
Under 6.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
0 to 6, okay.
Then you have the adults, which they will fit into the older than 6, but younger than 60 years old.
so.
And then what are
And
students?
then we have students, the ones that go.
Doesn't that, isn't that from 6 to 18, isn't that a student? Isn't that qualified as
Yeah,
a
we
student?
can consider that the students.
When do you have to start paying?
18 to
That's-
60
yeah.
would be the adult.
Yeah, it would be 18 to 60 probably.
So adults is 18 to 60.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
But don't your college students are considered students if they have an ID?
Not, if they have an ID,
But there are adult students too, so what a
Um,
crazy, what a
This is
world.
really.
No, we don't, that would be doubling up the different categories. We just consider if they're a student, we put them as students.
According to their age, so that would be
Yeah.
6 to 18.
Yes.
6 to 18 would be the student age
Would be the
group, whether
student.
they're in school or whether they're not in school, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
that's their age.
Roberto, if I can try and help out a little bit, I think what's a little confusing is trying to categorize them into age groups. What we do at Sierra Vista is what they're calling adults here would just be our regular fare. So if you don't fall under the discounted, any of the
Right.
discounted categories, which would be students, so even if you have your student ID and the school schedule, you get your discount pass as a student, or if you're a senior over 60 or a person with disabilities, then you get a discount. But what they're showing as adults here is probably just a regular fare, so it's a non-discounted fare. And that would apply to anybody over age 6 that's not a student or
Yeah.
any other discounted category.
I guess, so why I'm even asking these questions is these numbers have meaning. They're utilized for purpose of analyzing our grant and how that works, how's it working for us. So is there a standard methodology for extracting this information to make it usable in our grant? Sierra Vista does it one way, you're doing it a different way. I mean, in order to really make it be worthwhile for categorizing these numbers, I'm wondering if you could help me with that.
Well, originally, what we were trying to do, what we were trying to reach is because we use AAA funding for some of the passes for the elderly and the disabled, it was very important that we be able to give them the numbers
Distinguish.
and distinguish it. So what you see first, the first portion of it, is your elderly, which is 60 and above, and you're disabled. We
Right.
needed to be able to give them that information as well as how many elderly and disabled we're writing. So that's why you see what appears to be a doubling
Double.
of numbers. But if you notice, and it's been taken out here, but at one point I had where actually those three numbers had a total that I could run, and then we had the other ones that were general population.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's
Thank
important.
you.
Even though it looks like Chinese,
No, it doesn't look like
We've
Chinese.
got- there's a map.
It makes sense, and I think because when you create this spreadsheet, you're looking to extract certain information for a certain purpose,
Exactly.
and that's why I was asking, what is that thought process going
Exactly.
behind? Thank you for explaining that to me, yeah.
Any more questions?
I'm sorry, Umberto, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just wanting to understand what I'm doing here. I mean, what I'm looking at, and so what I can see is that for example, of the total ridership this month, we had 2,879, okay, and 813 of those were regular fare. And well, I guess students who paid fares were 67 students that paid fares, correct? Because are seniors paying fares too if they're over no, oh yeah, so here we go. So seniors are also paying fares, right? Seniors, adults, and students are all ratepayers.
they could be, and they are, and I'll tell you why. Because you've got a lot of seniors that maybe are visiting your area that don't necessarily want to apply for a pass, or they're only here for a little bit. You've got people from Mexico that come in and probably use the system as well, that are paying full fare because they cannot qualify for your AAA passes.
That's what I needed to know.
And I think it's important to let people know, because a lot of people
Yes.
say, well, why is our money going to transporting people that don't even reside here? Well, we're not. They're actually paying a fare.
So that's why these numbers make sense when it comes to our council understanding what our grant money is, what our portion of the grant money is being used for. And when they see these numbers, it's demonstrative how, I mean, 2,900 people riding our bus every month is pretty significant. And to analyze it down even more is significant, I think, as to what population we're actually looking at and how much of our fare. I mean, there's quite a number of, you know, if you add that together, 813, 481, and 67, that's a, you know, a big fare. I mean, we're collecting that in fares. That's good. Okay.
Is there any further discussion on the ridership report? Okay, let's move on to item 4, the Cochise Connection Report. Mr. Rivera, once again.
Here you go, the ridership report for the Cochise Connection.
Here's some more.
Yeah, this graph is the total ridership. You can see since we started last year, the cycle starts in October. You can see the totals up there all the way up to this month, this year, July. Totaling 659 riders. The next graph you can see is a little more detail on our different bus stops that we have. You can see the first one over there, which is the Customs bus stop in Douglas. You can see the different months there, how it's been increasing a little bit. You can see the next, which is the Visitor Center at the bus stop over there in Douglas. Then the next one, the college in Douglas. The next one, Bisbee, which is the bus stop after the Lyric. In fact, it is one of the bus stop that has more ridership, as you can see, between Visitor Center in Douglas, the Lyric here in Bisbee, Sierra Vista. Those three are the largest. The ones that have get more ridership. Any questions on this?
Is there anything we could do in Palominas and Hereford? Is it Nixville is Hereford, right?
Yeah.
So I was at a meeting a few weeks ago in Palominas, and the bus came up. It was a food access meeting. We talked about, you know, Cochise Connection bus, that people can use that to get to Sierra Vista, and get to the grocery stores up there. And a lot of people didn't know that the bus was coming through there. So they said, well, could we do some more, put out some schedules or some signs at like the Copper Clinic there in Palominas, and then at the two places where it stops. Are they stopping at what, Canyon Generals?
Yeah,
There?
Canyon General,
Yeah.
gas station, they're stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
Our flyer or
yeah,
schedules.
transit coordinator, she went, I think it was about 2 weeks or a little bit more, and she went to different places, and those are the ones that she hit, the Crown General.
Oh, okay.
General, the gas stations. So we put a lot of information, schedules, some posters, and
Okay.
she was there, so.
When was your meeting where you got the?
It was last month. It was at the Fire Training Center in Palominas. There were only a handful of people from Palominas there, but it was, the meeting was about access to healthy food, grocery stores and things. We talked about, for people that don't have a car, so they were talking about having a bus that could get up to Sierra Vista, and I said, well, the Cochise Connector comes through here three times a day. so, they didn't know about the schedule.
Is there a sign at the location that, or a bench or something where,
There's
or
a
do
sign,
they?
there's a sign, we don't have a bench yet or any shelter or anything like that, we just place the sign
Checking it
that's
out.
at the bus
What
stop
kind,
for
is the
connection.
sign on the door, or is it a
No,
freestanding
those,
sign?
posts that you put outside and go drive to the ground and then you put the sign in it, it's actually outside, not inside, but we do have posters inside on the windows on the actual store, and we leave, schedules inside there.
Yeah.
So it looks like ridership is still doing pretty well.
Yeah, sometimes it decreases, like last
Yeah.
month, we don't, there's so many, factors that can
So it'll probably
make
pick up
that
again,
change on it, but it is picking up, it's increasing.
because school's back.
So,
in
no, yeah, with school,
Yeah,
we had some of the college students who started this Monday, and then it's, just this morning, the Cochise Connection took like 10 students from college.
Oh, really?
Just at 6:30 in the morning, they had why are they taking it, but they picked up 10 students, so.
Wow.
And it increased on our other routes for the college.
Yeah.
We had totally, probably, just in the morning, this morning, it was like 55 total students that we picked up.
wow,
Yeah, so we hope they stay, sometimes it's just the first week. But
Yeah.
after that, they
Yeah.
But we're hoping they stay, they continue that, so it is increasing, so we're seeing an increase in that, so good. Any more questions on this Cochise connection?
I just have a question. Somebody told me that the Cochise Connection actually has made a stop at San Jose Square. It's a real stop. It's not just,
It's a call for pickup.
That's
need
what I
to
thought,
call.
it's a call for pickup.
If you see the bus stopping there, I think somebody's waiting. and they
That's
call
what I
for-
thought.
for-
Gotcha, okay.
Not that we're stopping, that it's a regular stop, no,
I
it
think
is
so.
a
I
call.
got you. Okay.
And that's possible, is there an extra charge for that?
No, we don't charge.
Oh, that's nice.
No.
If you notice on that back graph, you've got quite a bit of activity out of it. I mean,
Uh-huh,
considering
Yeah.
it's a call for pickup, it's a lot of activity.
yep.
We just need to switch these
Mhm.
Okay, we'll move on. Item 5. Discussion on previous discussions for possible transfer of responsibility of the Bisbee bus. So this item is something that has come across my desk a couple of times, and I obviously have not, I wasn't ever involved in the original conversation, so it's really just what is this about? Is it something that was seriously considered? Just whatever information we can get out there.
Well, it's always been talked about, not really formally.
Mm-hmm.
I think just previous city managers have talked about that, but since you guys have had just turnover and things, we've never formalized anything to discuss. And I'm just talking about
Yeah.
the discussions that the city of Douglas had with the city of Bisbee, okay? I don't know if there's anything else with other entities that were interested in taking over the Bisbee bus. But, yeah, there's just been talks about, as you know, right now, we have the operations.
Mhm.
That's our responsibility. We have a contract with the city of Bisbee. The administration side of things, the grant, customer service, bus maintenance and fueling lies on the city of Bisbee. But there was talks about the city of Douglas taking over the entire portion and being responsible for everything, basically the administration. Obviously, in conjunction with the city as well, some of these services would need to remain in-house,
Sure.
such as fueling and mechanics and all that, some stuff that makes sense. Certainly, that's conversations that we can reestablish and start talking about it, but the other conversation is to collaborate with other cities as well, not just Bisbee, Douglas, but establish something regional that can help us you know, gain some efficiencies and lessen our costs altogether as a region, to establish some sort of coordination within the small cities in Cochise County, and share those costs equally or some way. So there's been those ideas back and forth, ideas of city just taking over the administration and coordination within other areas.
The reason it piques my interest is because prior to me coming here, we had a person that was doing the administration. That person is no longer with the city, and so now then it got split to, those responsibilities were delegated to two different people. So they took on extra responsibilities. One of those people is now our personnel director, so she's let go of that responsibility. So right now, the entire responsibility is really kind of going to Lorena, and that's a lot, including the public works responsibilities that she has. Our budget for this 2019-2020 did not include us being able to hire on that grant. I guess it's a grants writer that was responsible for that. So we're hurting, and so not that, you know, we're trying to push off the responsibility of it, but we don't have the personnel, and it's really straining the department. We're trying to keep up with it, and we don't have the expertise in bus transit. I personally have not, you know, I haven't had a whole lot of experience in this type of transportation type. My response, you know, I'm public works director. I've been an engineer, but I've never really done anything on this end of more of a social services type thing. So any kind of help we can get would be great and appreciated. I think it'd be interesting for us to at least stir those conversations up again and seeing if it's something that's possible. And not that, you know, not that as soon as they say yes, it's possible, we're like, okay, let's do it. It's something that, just so that we can discuss it and see what possibilities are out there.
Just on that note, the city of Benson was approached at one point to do some admin, do the admin portion of it, and the distance was prohibitive for us. So just, so that's out there, so you guys all know.
Well, I'll chime in. I've seen the evolution of kind of Douglas rides and over the years, and yeah, I think part of it is administering the grant from ADOT. So that is a lot of work, and I think right now you have a contract with the city of Douglas, so they're operating the service. There would be some efficiencies that would be gained in consolidating the administration, and I don't know if that's something Douglas wants to kick on, but basically Douglas is already doing grant administration for their grant, and then Bisbee had a person that was administering the grant funds. And yeah, it requires, it's a pretty big job, and there's costs associated with that. And yeah, it's certainly, I think there's some duplication that if one city kind of took on that responsibility, there'd be some efficiencies there. And I think, you know, Bisbee would still need to provide the local match for the services that are provided in Bisbee, but it would probably be more cost effective than hiring a staff person to administer those grant funds. Because it's not, I mean, relatively speaking, looking at, you know, all of the operations statewide, it's not a real big grant, and so you could probably consolidate it with Douglas pretty easily. But again, that would be between, you know, the city of Douglas, city of Bisbee. But I think, you know, we've had some conversations in the past, and I used to oversee the grant program at ADOT, so that's why I'm familiar with
Mhm.
kind of how things have kind of changed over time for Douglas and Bisbee. But I think it would be my recommendation to consolidate 2 grants under one agency, especially since Douglas is operating in service. Just be more efficient and would kind of, again, where Bisbee isn't staffed to do that right now, that would be a benefit.
Well, maybe we can.
Yeah, and if we can have some offline conversations, kind of give you more details on just the previous conversations we've had. I mean, we've run some numbers, some scenarios as well. I mean, we went as far as that.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Those items, but, you know, I dig those up and we can talk about it.
Okay, great, thank you.
I think as Kevin mentioned, yeah, there was a discussion, I think, a few years ago about Benson kind of consolidating Bisbee, Douglas, and Benson under one administrative umbrella. But again, I think the distance between all 3 kind of made that difficult.
Well, this was, just before the last grant cycle.
Oh, okay.
Bisbee contacted our city manager.
Oh,
And the city
okay.
manager brought it to me and said,
Yeah.
do you think you could do this? And I said, well, you know, these are the
Yeah.
problems I foresee, you know, and the biggest one being the distance.
Mhm.
And, so that was,
Yeah.
you know, and I suggested they go back to Douglas, that the administrative, since Douglas was already doing the operations.
The grant cycle starts again this October, correct?
Well,
When is that?
the federal fiscal year starts October, but the grant cycle, are they on a
I
2-year
think
grant
it's,
now?
yeah, it's a
Yes.
2-year grant, but late this year, I think is when they open it up.
That's what I
December.
thought. So,
Yeah.
I mean, time is of the essence here to be talking about this
That's true.
administratively with our city manager, because we don't have a person here in Bisbee who's equipped to get that grant going, and
She's aware of the conversation, we've brought it up, she has an idea, obviously she has even less information than I do, but she's aware of it. Really what it would take is, it was to come up with some sort of plan, then we'd have to have an IGA between the 2 city councils.
of course.
And then
But
that's
I mean,
really, it really, once we just come up with the plan, to be fairly,
But this committee won't meet for another 3 months, so we need to be able to make a recommendation here to get the ball rolling in time for the grant cycle, so that we're not left hanging,
sure,
right?
yes.
I'm
We don't,
asking-
here's the other thing too, if for some reason we need to get this going before, we need to come together and make a recommendation, we can call for a special session, and it doesn't even have to be, in person. We can report it, we can do it, or we can do a telephone meeting, and we can sit for just this one agenda item and say, we recommend that, if that's the case, we can call for a special, we don't have to wait for the next meeting.
I understand that. I think that it's good to have these things discussed in regular council sessions, so that the public is informed, rather than these special sessions.
Oh, I meant
And so-
special session for our committee, so that we could make the recommendation to
Yeah,
council.
but that's what I'm saying. I mean, if we're discussing this now, is there anything that would prevent us from just going ahead and making a recommendation to have it be pursued by the city managers?
It wasn't on the agenda.
Yeah.
It is, no?
It's just a
Oh,
discussion.
it's just discussion only,
Yeah.
oh, dang.
Yeah, and I think
Sorry.
it'd be helpful to have a better understanding of what some of the budget implications are.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was just discussion only. I was just thinking we could just recommend that
Yeah.
it be,
I'd
but
say,
you can't do it.
yeah,
Okay.
I'd recommend that they kind of restart the conversation and start looking at the
Yeah.
numbers. I think it's definitely worthwhile to do.
Of course, but we can't vote on it.
Right,
Good idea, though.
that's a good idea.
I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything on that topic? Okay. Well, then let's move on to item number 6. This is comments of the board members. And I believe, Donna, you had some questions that you wanted to
I do, and I don't
bring
know,
up?
I mean, I wanted it to, I made a list of them just so that you could know what I was thinking about, but I don't know if these have any bearing on anything now, because we really don't have a person administering the bus here now. So these questions all have to do with bus administration. So I think maybe it's not prudent to get into a lot of detail about them now, but maybe the second one, the bus passes, I might suggest that the signage on the buses is really not readable, and I don't know who, is that an administrative function to create signage in the buses regarding bus passes and the eligibility and where the location of it is, and especially since a great number of our ridership is senior and disabled. Is that a Bisbee
So is that-
administrative thing to do?
So are you saying they're too small to read?
Yeah, you know, they're mostly at the front of the bus. Some of the stuff that's up there is not, it's outdated. And it's still a big mystery about where do you get a bus pass, and where is City Hall, and how often are people at the senior center? And I know that it's just a constant interruption for the drivers to have to be driving and then yelling to the back of the bus because he can't start the bus until everybody's seated. Just throwing it out there as to a consideration that be looked at. And
Maybe instead of a window, have a place to put some information.
well, I don't know. I mean, it's always been discussed of having something like on the side of the bus where people who are actually seated could maybe look up and see it, or look over here. But that's just one of the comments that I had. There aren't enough bus schedules that are at the bus stops, and I would like to facilitate getting bus schedules at bus stops. So it's really difficult for people to know when the bus is coming if there's no schedule that's posted. So it's a problem.
So is it not on the sign portion of it? Or
No, people
took it off?
take them off. I mean, they don't.
Okay.
So somehow, and again, I would be willing to volunteer to do that if I had the materials to go around and drive around to every bus stop and make sure that there are schedules at every bus stop that are posted somehow, getting them up there in a way that they can't be just taken off. Those are just technical things that
Okay.
I had comments about, and the rest of these are administrative kinds of things, and maybe whenever we have an administrator, I can discuss these more details with that person.
I know that on the shelter, we have one approved to purchase in October. So
Oh,
I did get an answer from Rita on that. So the
for
second,
October,
in other words, the second year of the grant cycle, we can purchase that shelter. We did request it in the last grant. So that's your answer to that one. And the
You mean
schedules,
for-
I will try and get connections. I don't have any. I do have this week. So
I'm sorry.
the schedules.
Oh, the
for-
schedule. So have you decided where the shelter would be, or is that something
Well,
that we would?
they had discussed at Safeway, and they had also discussed at the hospital, but the hospital would have to get permission. So I think the first one would be at Safeway.
Hallelujah.
So,
Awesome.
Oh, Lorena, thank you.
Yeah, good job.
We can email you or send you do you need the actual schedule, or do you need some sort of printout to post, or the actual schedules to give out? I mean
don't know where to
ridership
put the
guides.
actual schedules,
That's
all.
what I had done before, was I was just using clear cellophane tape to put schedules up in the shelters or wherever it was that I could post a schedule. So I guess maybe I could just go around and do a survey, a little inventory of what's needed.
Because the bus drivers ask me for schedules.
Yeah.
So they should actually have them in the bus.
I know.
They run out and then they're supposed to come and get one,
I
and
know.
I don't know if that's
I know.
happening.
I
I
know.
know one driver does come to my
I
office,
know.
but that's not the only one. So,
I'm
Thank
concerned
you.
with bad behavior and people just saying, oh, you just
Yeah,
take
we
all
have a lot of
those, and there's
vandalism.
a lot of vandalism, a lot of naughty, so just,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Larry.
Did any other member have any comments?
Yeah, just from Vista Transit, because we do get people that come up on the Cochise connector, use the buses in Sierra Vista. So we implemented new routes and new schedules July 1st. We went to 60-minute loops, so, yeah, so we've got, instead of 4 buses operating 4 loops, we're doing 3 60-minute loops now. Seems to be working out well, and it was, the objective was to reduce the cost, to save some money for the city. But seems to be working out, and we have, I was gonna try and bring some schedules with me, but I forgot. But we do have schedules up there at the transit center.
How many drivers do you have for that? Did you just sort of stretch the schedules on the drivers when you?
Yeah, well, we had, right now we have 5 full-time drivers and then 6 part-time drivers. So we had, we were already staffed to be able to make that reduction because we had one of our full-timers had retired earlier in the year and we just didn't fill that vacancy. So we were able to just kind of.
It's kind of easier to get drivers for the connection than it is for the Bisbee bus, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. It's challenging to get drivers, CDL drivers.
Yeah, overall, it's very challenging.
Yeah.
Very challenging. We're in the midst of that challenge, actually.
Yeah.
2 drivers, possibly 3 drivers short.
Really?
And we have, our full-timers, once they get on full-time, they tend to stay. Part-timers a little bit harder to find, because, it's just a
Yeah,
work works.
younger people have to feed their families and all that.
Yeah. A lot of our drivers are
It's just
retired
the
from
retired
different
ones.
jobs.
I remember that the retired ones really seem to be more, sustainable.
Yeah.
Luis, you said you're trying to, you have part-time positions that you're trying to fill?
Yeah, we're actually, our part-timer right now is gonna take his CDL test on Tuesday.
Mhm.
We hope that he passes and he'd be our first graduate out of our internal CDL program if he passes. So once he vacates that position, we're looking to fill that part-timer.
Internal
You should
CDL
s-
program, what does that mean?
That we're training them as, they come in as part-timers, we train them, give them the time, give them bus, pay for some of the costs. So this is our first one
That's a really good deal.
that's gone
Yeah.
through and it looks like it's looking very well. He passed the written test,
Oh, good.
so.
Yeah.
I actually have a part-time public works person that has a CDL, and he's working part-time for us, so
Nice.
maybe,
need
maybe if he needs a little
driver.
extra. That's what I'm suggesting, is maybe I'll talk to him and see if he's interested. I think because he originally applied for a position that was full-time, and so I'm sure he wants to have full-time hours.
Well, actually, we had heard that same information
Mhm.
from our driver here, Mr. Guerrero.
Uh-huh.
He's our driver here for Bisbee. That there was 2 people interested to be drivers for the Bisbee bus that lived in Bisbee. So one of them being somebody working for the city and another individual.
Yeah.
So if
They
we
would
can
actually be
facilitate that program, if we can drop off an application, actually.
That's what it would be. It would be because he would be working for the city of Douglas.
Yes.
That would work because we
I
could.
think there's one that has the CDL that lives in Douglas, right?
Which one?
Recycle.
I thought I don't know where he lives.
He lives in Douglas.
He lives in Douglas. Or-
Well, that could be a good thing, and
I'll
since
help
he's
him.
used to coming up here for work, that could be a good thing.
we should
And-
talk.
Yeah, we should. Drivers are getting a 10% raise in January.
Wait a second. He might believe us.
But you
Careful what you
I
ask
know.
for, right?
You did solve a problem with their schedules because they had to sit around and drive, but then you fix that and thank goodness that happened.
And that the postings are on your website?
Oh, it's just
They're on
on the
our website,
Douglas.
but we can send you something directly. I
Maybe
mean,
put it
it's-
on the Bisbee website too.
Yeah. We
For a
weren't
job.
exactly hiring for the bid, because we do have the 2 bus drivers, but one of our bus drivers is on medical leave that drives here because he needs to pass some sort of test before he can get back and get his CDL recertified. So, if he doesn't come back, or if we get somebody from Bisbee, he can always be reassigned to Douglas.
Because I wonder, is that a regular job posting that we get on our website?
Not
for
on your
us?
website, but we should be putting it on
Yeah,
your website.
that would be great.
It's always on our website, but we
Right.
should be sending it to you guys.
Right.
Sure, we can do something like that.
Buses aren't going anywhere without somebody to drive.
Any other members have any comments?
Oh, the only thing I was gonna mention is that, I don't know, probably everyone's aware that Chris Vertrees is no longer with Seco.
I didn't know that, I was wondering about that. Ah.
He's been gone now for like 2-3 months, but Jim Russell,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
the city manager in Douglas, has taken his spot,
Okay.
and so he's working with us.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
Thought I'd mention that.
nice to know, thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody's stealing everybody's.
What about John, is he still
John
John-
Meredith,
Meredith?
he's still there.
He's still
He's still there.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
Second.
We all second.
Everybody say aye?
Bye.
All right, adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Great.